Nemo Radio is on the air.
A, B, C. A, always, B, C, closing. Always be closing. Always be closing.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Put that coffee down. Coffee's for closers only.
Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
Hey, it's John Nemo. Welcome back to another episode of Nemo Radio. Wanted to share just a great insight, a great reminder around LinkedIn messages. I'm kind of kicking myself because this is a lesson I first learned, all the way back in 2012. And I just got smacked across the face with it again today because I had sent this prospect on LinkedIn 7 different one-on-one messages over a 1-year period. They didn't respond to a single one of them. And then all of a sudden, the other day, I sent my 8th different message to this prospect, and they instantly replied, "Sure, I'd love to see it." And it was such a great reminder of a lesson I learned back in 2012 when it comes to LinkedIn, when it comes to generating leads on LinkedIn, when it comes to targeting on LinkedIn, and specifically when it comes to content you create for LinkedIn and then what you put into your one-on-one messages on LinkedIn. And that is this simple, undeniable, never-changing truth about marketing and lead generation. And that is this: the riches are in the niches. I have screamed this, for many years, but I forgot it. And sometimes I fall victim to it in my own marketing where I get too broad. And so the example here was I basically was targeting different business coaches and consultants on LinkedIn with a piece of free content. And what I had done, what I've learned over the years is, again, the riches are in the niches. And so I took my best-selling book, which is just called LinkedIn Riches. Right? I have a best-selling book I wrote back in 2014 that's called LinkedIn Riches: How to Use, LinkedIn to get business, how to win, get leads, whatever the subtitle is. And what I figured out, what I was reminded of was, as I, attracted different clients with that book, I realized kind of this chicken soup for the soul model, where if you're familiar with the famous, chicken soup for the soul books that became super popular, I think it was in the 1990s and 2000s, and they're still around today. The original book was just called Chicken Soup for the Soul. And it was just great, like stories, heartwarming stories, kind of like chicken soup on a cold day, right? It's good for your soul. It's a good, heartwarming, inspirational story. But what they did with that brand or with that book was they niched it. So all of a sudden, it went from chicken soup for the soul to chicken soup for the athlete's soul, chicken soup for the mother's soul, chicken soup for the business professional's soul, chicken soup for the skydiver's soul, or whatever it is. And they hyper niched the same idea, the same product, the same service of heartwarming, inspirational, motivational stories, but they niched it to target audiences, and they put the name of the target audience on the book. Now, this is a lesson I first learned back in 2012 with LinkedIn, and I tell the story in my book, LinkedIn Riches, when I literally, quit my safe 6-figure day job. I had enough money for 30 days. I had one client. I was about 30 grand in debt, which wasn't good. And I had 3 young boys under the age of 10 at home, and my wife wasn't working. She was home taking care of the boys. So I took this crazy entrepreneurial leap. And what I realized back then with LinkedIn, and this is the story I tell in the book, LinkedIn Riches, is, okay, the riches are in the niches. Like, you can use LinkedIn, which now has over 1 billion with a B, 1 billion members, to find and build lists of your exact ideal prospects. Because of the way LinkedIn is set up, they've got information on everyone. So you can sort and make lists. You can use LinkedIn like Google for B2B leads and say, I want to make a list of business coaches and consultants who have at least 10 years of experience, who are in the United States, who went to the University of Minnesota, who blah, 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 who work in the healthcare industry as a consultant. Like, you can get that hyper niche and hyper focused. And what I did in the beginning in 2012 was I only had one client, and he was a debt collector. He owned a debt collection agency, and that was an industry I had worked in for a couple of years as a PR guy. So I knew the industry, and that's how I met that guy, and he became my first kind of paying marketing client. So what I did at the time with my LinkedIn profile on my LinkedIn outreach was I changed my LinkedIn headline from John Nemo, CEO, Nemo Media Group, which was just me in my bedroom with a wobbly folding card table and a laptop. That was Nemo Media Group, very prestigious. I changed my LinkedIn headline to Debt Collection Marketing Services, right? John Nemo, Debt Collection Marketing Services. And so every debt collector I connected with on LinkedIn was like, oh, wow, he's all about me. He's all about debt collectors. He's all about my world. And then the first line of my LinkedIn profile was what I do. I help debt collectors, right? Naming my target audience. I help debt collectors generate leads, reduce complaints and improve their reputation online by providing industry-specific debt collection marketing services. And then when I would reach out to debt collectors on LinkedIn, my one-on-one message would say, hey, I help debt collectors with marketing. Do you have any needs, whatever. And that's how within 90 days of going out on my own on LinkedIn, I generated, this is back in 2012, I generated $135,000 in revenue just in 90 days from debt collectors, just using that simple riches are in the niches approach. And so as I've expanded, and obviously now I have a whole done for you LinkedIn lead gen agency, and we work with clients across all these different niches: debt collectors, business coaches, consultants, franchise consultants, small business owners, IT consultants, any and every niche you can think of, right? Like anyone who does B2B, realtors, commercial real estate, mortgage, anyone who does any sort of B2B product or sale we've worked with, right? People that do high-end technical solutions and research and analytics and data and everything. So again, when I'm doing my outreach on LinkedIn for myself and marketing Nemo Media Group with my LinkedIn profile, what I noticed with this particular prospect who I sent 7 messages to over 1 year, all of them were broad. They were saying things like, hey, would you like some free tips on how to get leads on LinkedIn? Didn't respond. Hey, would you be interested on tips like LinkedIn lead generation and blah, blah, blah? Didn't respond. Hey, you're looking for any free tips on how to create a client attracting profile on LinkedIn? Didn't respond. Again, this is one business coach and consultant, and this is over a year, right? So I'm not spamming them like every single day, but I'm trying, a couple times a month, not even that much, just once a month. Hey, would you be interested in a new case study on blah, blah, blah? Nope. All of a sudden, and again, it keeps going, and all of a sudden they say, hey, name of consultant, can I send you a free digital copy of my new ebook, LinkedIn Lead Generation for Business Coaches and Consultants? And within a few minutes, they reply, sure. So and by the way, they're not mad at me. They didn't say, quit sending me messages. I just hadn't sent the right offer, quote unquote. Right. What I realized was this person is a business coach and consultant. So when I offer them a free piece of content that literally says, hey, would you like a free copy of a book that literally says LinkedIn lead generation for business consultants and coaches just like you, they're like, yeah, sure, because that's me. That's my world. That's all I care about. And this goes back to how I built my whole business off the book Dale Carnegie wrote called How to Win Friends and Influence People. And he wrote it in 1936, but it's still as relevant as ever today because human beings have not changed. My favorite quote from that book that I cite all the time is, your ideal prospect, your ideal customer does not care about you. They do not care about you. They only care about themselves, morning, noon, and after supper. And so every piece of content I've tried to create, my customer service approach, my sales approach, my marketing approach, has tried not to be about me, but it's try to be about them, like how I help you get what you want, right? How I help business coaches get more paying clients from LinkedIn. And so what I've realized is with my own free content, LinkedIn Riches being kind of the big book I'm known for, I've done the chicken soup for the soul to it where I've said, I've created other iterations of the book. I've created, LinkedIn lead generation for franchise consultants. That's a whole book now that you can buy on Amazon and that I can give away free copies of. I've created a whole book called LinkedIn lead generation for business coaches and consultants. It's an entire book that you can get on Amazon and you can, get a free copy of it. And then I'm going to create additional versions of it, LinkedIn lead generation for CPAs, accountants, and bookkeepers, which is another niche that we work with. Create another one that says LinkedIn lead generation for small business owners, right? And try to cover some of the different small businesses we work with. And what I do is it's essentially my main LinkedIn Riches book in terms of the content, the strategies, the formulas, the styles don't change. What I do in the individual books is I give specific to that industry examples. So when LinkedIn lead generation for franchise consultants, yes, I share the overarching strategies of how to generate leads on LinkedIn, like having a client-facing profile, that the money is in the mailbox with one-on-one outreach. But then I say, now, here are specific examples of franchise consultants and how I have made their profiles client-facing. Here's specific examples of one-on-one messages that franchise consultants use that I've created that work well. Here's specific examples of content franchise consultants can create, like ebooks or whatever, for their ideal target audiences of these people. And then I do the same thing for accountants and CPAs and bookkeepers and small business owners. And the idea is just getting into that niche audience where they have that reaction of going, oh, cool, this isn't broad, this isn't generic, it's all about me, it's all about my little world. If you're saying this is specifically for me as a franchise consultant, that must mean a couple key things. You know my industry. You know all the unique challenges and obstacles that I have. You know what makes me tick. You know who I'm trying to target. You know all the different rules and regulations that govern how I can market. That was what I learned with my first client in 2012. And that's what I learned working for debt collectors for 2 years for their trade association was, oh man, the big complaint I would hear time and again from the debt collection trade association members was, we really struggle with marketing because nobody understands us. Nobody understands our unique industry. Nobody understands our unique challenges. Nobody gets all the government regulations. Nobody really understands that we're normal people. We're good people. We're trying to do a service. Nobody understands how much we help the economy with all the debt we recover and how many businesses we save by, recovering the money they're owed legitimately. Nobody understands this, and this. So when I was able to position myself to them like, hey, I do marketing specifically for debt collection agencies, they were like, oh my gosh, really? And I'd be like, yeah, I have this industry experience. I get it. You don't have to educate me. I understand. Then they wanted to sign up because I'm the same way. If somebody comes to me and says, yeah, do you need an accountant or bookkeeper? And they say, by the way, I work with done-for-you LinkedIn lead generation agencies. So I know the unique challenges you have of using contractors and selling online courses and how to report agency income versus online course income and blah, 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 into the weeds of how you run an agency. I would be much more inclined to want to work with them or talk to them at least, as opposed to, hey, I'm an accountant and bookkeeper, I work with anyone, right? That sounds exciting to me. People want to feel understood. They want to feel like you really empathize with them. And that's why in that front end on your marketing with LinkedIn, with the content you create, with the titles that you give ebooks and that you give blog posts or that you give videos, the more niche you can be, the more you're going to see engagement and attention come your way. And that's a lesson even I forget after more than a dozen years doing this. And that's why I wanted to record this episode was I was like, wow, this person replied, okay, I'm looking at him as a lead. And I'm like scrolling up. I'm like, how long did it take for them to reply? And I looked and I'm like, gosh, it's been a year and a half or something. Probably more than 7 messages, probably 10 different messages. And I go, man, why didn't they reply to any of these? Why did they reply to this specific one? Oh, that's right. I said, this is specifically for business coaches and consultants, which, oh, by the way, is their world. So hope that's helpful. Hope that's a great reminder for you. I know it is for me that the riches are in the niches. And of course, by the way, if you want any additional tips on all of this, in the show notes for this podcast, wherever you're listening, I have links to all my different books for free. So yes, if you're a franchise consultant, whatever, like all the LinkedIn books are linked there for free. You can get the PDFs for free. I've got my content marketing book. I've got free online trainings because again, so much of it is understanding the riches being in the niches. So thanks so much for listening. Hope you found this helpful and we'll see you soon on another episode.